I would like to call to order the Finance and Personnel Committee for Monday, November 3rd, 2014. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Bussey.
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Here. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes of the October 20th meeting?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion second. Corrections, deletions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. Is there anyone here this evening? Seeing no one's here for appearances, there is no unfinished business this evening. Under item 6, new business. A, consideration of resolution 14-11-1991, authorizing a contract with Vanderwall and Associates, Inc. for planning services for the waterfront redevelopment master plan in the city of Monona, Wisconsin. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll have to read it.
Oh, hold on.
I'll have
one
to
second.
recuse myself.
Alder Bussey will be recusing himself. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I will second that. Discussion. Pat?
Yeah, there are two agreements here with Vanderwall. One that would cover the actual master plan. That's the first one you're looking at. Would get us through the site plan, master plan for the entire redevelopment district, which includes the triangle and a small area across the street south of Broadway. Vanderwall, as you're aware, has been working with us for about a year on some of the efforts that we've already completed. This master plan process would get us to the point where we've actually done one or a couple of site plans for this site.
Alder Wood?
One question on each of them, I guess, is what's the cost? I thought there's not to exceed $70,000 on the one we're currently looking at, the plan.
That's correct. And the other one's not to exceed $120,000, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, my only concern with this is to make sure that we have everything in each of these agreements, that we have everything in there that we want them to do, the services.
Yeah.
That we're not, don't want to leave anything out, I guess.
CDA director has gone through this, correct? CDA as a body has gone through this.
CDA as a body has gone through it, and Bill is actually putting the...
We haven't gone through this proposal.
Yes, it was approved at the last CDA meeting.
I don't think so. I don't think we had all this detail, did we?
Yeah, it was. They
Okay.
gave a presentation there.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry.
With the hand.
Yep.
What about Bill?
Oh, and Bill is actually drafting the agreements per the standard, city standard agreement, and we've gone through all the particulars. So it's my assumption that everything's in there, and we're actually sort of driving this from a city perspective and just getting the assistance from Vanderwall. So I think everything's in line right now.
And again, those numbers are do not exceed numbers, correct?
That's
That
correct.
We could do less than that
If everything worked out, yeah, in
Okay.
a perfect world. One thing that Bill is requesting, and he's going to be putting in the document, is their hourly rate, so basically their fee schedule.
Okay. Further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Mayor Miller.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Moving on to item 2B is consideration of resolution 14-11-1992, authorizing a contract with Vanderwall and Associates for planning services for development management assistance in the city of Monona, Wisconsin, brought forth by the CDA. Alder Bussey.
Recuse myself, please.
Alder Bussey will recuse himself. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
I will second that. Pat?
This is the secondary portion of what Vanderwall will be helping us with. Basically, after the development plan is in place, they will work with us to resolve ongoing issues and to work on finalizing development agreements and working to find additional developers if the current developer we have on board doesn't decide to do the entire project. So they'll basically be working with us from the master plan process all the way to when we get shovels in the ground.
Any questions?
And if I could add
Yep.
too, our finance director just noted that this is being funded through TID 8. Currently, we are borrowing from TID 8. It's within a half mile of the project, and it will be reimbursed once there's increment within this potential TIF district.
Today is Trista.
8 is Trista, correct.
Any further news on the tearing down of the Octagon building?
No, just that it'll happen before the winter. So.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Excuse me. Mayor Miller,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 2C is consideration of Resolution 14-11-1993, which is approving the boundaries of the redevelopment area number 9, finding such areas to be blighted and approving a redevelopment.
You're on council.
Agenda.
Oh, sorry about that. It was like, oh, it got longer here all of a sudden. 6C, this is different 6C. 6C is consideration of Resolution 14-11-1994, award of contract for the Schluter Park Restroom Design and Construction Administration. Is there a motion for approval?
So approved.
Is there a second? Motion and second. Jake?
Mayor, as
Yes.
Jake's walking up there, if I could add, I spoke with the city attorney this afternoon in regards to completing this contract per the form I mentioned earlier, that's with contracts with Vanderwall. Bill is actually finalizing that contract, and he requested that if any bodies approve this tonight, they do it contingent upon his review and finalization of the contract.
Are we talking about the one we just approved? The
No, this
Vanderwals?
is-
Oh, this is the
For
Schluter.
Schluter.
Okay, so this, okay, thanks for the clarification. Jake?
Sure. So we received 4 responses to our RFP for architectural services for Schluter Park Restroom. Those were received on October 15th, and they were reviewed by the Facilities Committee on Tuesday, October 28th, I believe it was, or October 29th. After that review with staff, it was our recommendation that we proceed with a contract with Dorschner and Associates with the lowest qualified bid of $20,500.
Can you share who the 4 bidders were?
Sure. It was Dorschner and Associates, $20,500. Aro and Eberly Architects, $31,700. OPN Architects were at $33,000, and MSA Professional Services were at $45,000.
Are we familiar with Dorschner?
We are peripherally aware of Dorschner. They did do the design, construction, or design for the recently completed Dolly Bike Hub in Fitchburg. And they, on their resume, have done multiple park shelter restrooms and facilities. Members of the facility committee have worked with them directly before and spoken to their reputation and ability to do the job.
Good budgeting, Jake.
Sure. And so we're looking to,
Oh, I'm sorry. go ahead.
we're just, because of the schedule of, completed plans and bid letting, we're hoping to get this contract signed as soon as possible and get going with the design and required meetings from the different facility or different committee bodies.
Did you ask for tonight at council? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's
It
immediate.
is start on the
It is start?
yes, under D.
Oh, my D got in the schmutz.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. All right. Alder Bussey.
Yeah, I'm the facility committee. Our firm has used not only Dorschner, but the Pierce Engineers, and was it JDR?
Correct.
And
I like that building they did.
if it, but I would like to amend the approval to incorporate the contingency of Bill Cole's contract. How would you word it, Pat? What was your request?
Basically, he wanted to review the language and draft the contract, so.
Contingent
just-
upon Bill's
Right.
drafting of the contract and language that he incorporates in it.
And the second agrees to that?
I do.
All right, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good job, Jake.
Thank you.
Good job, Facilities Committee. Item 6D is consideration of Resolution 14-11-1990, which is the adoption of the 2015 operating budget and establishing a tax levy. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Mark?
I guess we're approving the 2000 operating budget. I don't know,
2015.
2015 operating budget, I guess. Do you want me to go over kind of the presentation I had from before, just kind of state where
Yep,
we're
the
at?
summary pages in the
Yeah.
box.
Page 3, I'm just going to give you a quick review of the budget. Basically, here's proposed city property taxes is 2.4% increase compared to last year, or 136,000. Of that, that service is included in there, and that is exempt from the property tax levy. We were allowed to carry over from last year, and that was equivalent to $51,379. And we were, because our new construction is 1.14%, we were also allowed to increase 64,563. So the total amount we were able to increase the operating portion was 115,942. The actual increase, excluding debt service, is basically $59,035. So we're still under the levy limit by 56,907. With that, the actual tax rate actually dropped from 6.12 of the city share down to 6.02% per thousand, or a decrease of 1.69%. In this budget, it maintains the current services, the current year, and it also increases wages per union agreement, or up to 2.5 based on merit with that. I don't know if you make questions or.
Could you just, for the viewers, on the average home, what the current budget would impact for the city portion on the average house?
On our current house, because of the residential went up more than commercial, residential will be an increase of $101 from an average home. And that's if your house went from $240,000 to $260,000. If you had that big of a jump, you expect that. If you fall somewhere in between there, not as high, your rate's not going to go up. If you want more than that, your taxes will go up a little bit more. So on average, it's $101.
And as it stands now, our current reserve budget would be at what percent?
Based on the current budget, it'll be at 23.82%.
So we would be exceeding, so we would be very robust for any borrowing. And
Correct. We're within our policy to 15 and 20%.
Alder Bussey?
Mark,
And Alder-
one more time, the average increase in the average home price? It was 101 or 141?
$101.
In the average home price?
260,000
Moving from 240.
from 240.
Alder Wood?
I guess I have some questions that I don't expect you to necessarily answer now, but I think we'll want, by the time we vote on the budget. Because you had raised in some of your concerns about how much, if any, more of the fund balance we use, transportation aids, likely going down. So I was wanting to know sort of how much do you think it will drop, and when, And also, I'm not sure what expenditures are all included in that, so.
Transportation number, how the formula works.
Right, the sheet you handed out showed, we had spent about $5.5 million.
That includes all infrastructure, public work infrastructure. So it includes water, sewer, stormwater, general streets. It also includes a portion of law enforcement. They do an allocation because they patrol the roads, and so that's included in there.
So anything we spend on the streets, including even like the seal coating and
Correct, that's
things
all.
that are even in the operating budget?
Yep, so we code that into, there's a report called the state report that we fill out, which is basically our tax return to the state. And they break out, we have to fill in the categories, and that's one of the categories. You have to put all the lump sum stuff that relates to streets. Doesn't matter if it's operating or capital, goes in those line items.
Does the formula remain constant, the equation that they use?
It does. They take the 3 years and 6-year rolling averages.
So we've replaced a major road construction project, Monona Drive, but we're doing far more substantial stormwater improvements, so that net difference isn't, I mean, it's substantial, but we're still putting a lot of money
Still
into
putting it in
our
there.
roads, so.
Yeah.
Is there just some way
Well, it's still
to
based on,
guess what that could be dropping?
yeah, it only can drop 10% per year. So you can
10%.
10%. It takes last year's numbers, and you can increase by 15% or decrease by 10%.
And that dollar amount would be what? I don't have my sheet with me.
This year, we didn't even actually capture a full amount because what we should have got was more than 15%. So next year, we'll have, next year will probably be our highest year, I believe.
So
And
that, I guess, to Alderwood's point, it's a few years away before
next year will probably be our cap year, and then we'll start decreasing.
by
Do we get
10%.
to carry over? If we, like you said, this year we had, if we got everything, if didn't have that 15% cap on the increase, we would have gotten more. Do we get to carry that over, or is that just,
It just,
well, I guess it is in a sense, because.
the new number starts each year at the 15, 10.
And it's still an average of those 3 years.
Right.
And it also depends on other communities, because it's a big, basically, state funding is a big pot of money.
Mhm.
So for another communities, they start more infrastructure and capital,
Darn Fitchburg.
well, they'll get a bigger pot, and we were pretty active during, the slowdown. We were, keeping our infrastructure up in a lot of communities. If you look back, and each community has a spreadsheet, they were not as active as we were, so they may start building that up, so there will be some change. But I would believe it's gonna top off next year and decrease after that.
Okay.
But barring some major changes by the council, I think it's a pretty solid conservative budget.
Yes.
I also had a couple of questions on that. With regard to the fund balance, I went back and looked at the last, I think since 2012, and I believe the amount that we will have in the fund balance this year is far, and it is, I would characterize it as by far more than any year since at least 2012.
It's probably the highest
True.
one.
Yep, ever.
Definitely, usually it's around, we get it down to around 20 or sometimes even 17.5, so this is,
My first
Yeah, that
year
was
as
the other
mayor
thing.
was 18. It's been going up
Yeah.
at 2%, and then this year it just grew on its own.
Yeah, I guess that was, yeah, I noticed that 2 years ago we were, in your budget summary sheet, you were using 17.5% as sort of the target.
that was one at the time that council, I think we're wanting to use 17.5.
Well, it's the midpoint of the
Between
policy.
15 and 20. yeah.
So I mean, actually, we're in violation of our policy because we're above 20%.
But you wanted 23. Do you want to explain again why?
I was looking at it from my end. I guess I was being conservative because, like I said, in a couple years the transportation will drop. We have some issues with the library. Eric's concerned, and I'm concerned too about the new library systems that are going in, and we'll lose aid there. Granted, it's in a library fund, but we might have to raise property taxes there and maybe use the fund balance in the general fund. So that's a concern. Issues with the public safety, with the fire, if there's going to be more staff added on, there's going to be more costs there. So health insurance. So, health insurance.
Speaking of which, do we get our number?
We do have our number, and it's going to be between 7.5 and 8.5, so it meets our
So we
target.
nailed it.
Okay.
At eight.
We budgeted 8, so it's
Hopefully it gets to 7.5.
Yeah.
just 8% increase is about.
You will, it will. We'll work on it.
Each year you'd think though, 8% increase is, it was 8% last year and this year it's 8%, so I'm assuming it's gonna be right around there. Unless we go out and change the provider, that's like $80-some thousand increase by itself when you start off with 8%. So, and 80,000 is more than what, because we had carryover. If you didn't have the carryover, we would
Didn't we have the carryover in part because we used fund balance last year?
use it, right, because we didn't go to the full amount last year. We used the fund balance, but we did that for a one-time expense too. We did for some capital.
We may be saving some. I don't want to get into discussions tonight, but in future budgets, there might be a substantial savings too that would offset at least a year of that.
There's definitely some different things we can look at, health insurance and payouts.
And then that IT budget with the virtual city hall, where we don't have health insurance for, it's all done in the cloud. The administrator in the cloud. Oh, the bus, yep, I'm
I
sorry.
had one last question
Yep.
on the fund balance. So, because as you go back and look, it seems like the fund balance number continues, to increase, which is, good.
Mhm.
But I'm wondering I know at one time I believe we appropriated funds when we were under Mayor Call, we were trying to increase it from a very low number. But what are the sources of funds for the fund balance now? I mean, why does it either go up, why would it go up?
Why is it, we had a couple good years. One, because we changed the health insurance a couple years ago. That was a big change to it.
I mean, below, so that the expenditures were less than what we budgeted?
Yeah, because we had
Saved $330,000.
that was probably one of the biggest thing. And that was mainly because we changed it right at the end of the year. If you remember that, we had a budget kind of. Another big thing is some of our revenue numbers came in better. We had some changes in our room tax and management. That number has shot up over the last couple of years.
Ambulance fees have increased, building permits, our permits have
Building permits have-
increased
Yeah,
dramatically the last 2
we
years.
had some.
And I think this year's budget, I mean, I'd like to be surprised, but all those areas that have increased have budgeted increases this year. So
Right.
we're assuming the good ride continues.
I did mention to Pat today, I just got our third quarter numbers for room tax from both the hotels. It was by far, since I've been here in 10 years, the biggest quarter ever. One alone, we had the two together was $80,000 for one quarter, which is all-time high. I've never seen it that high.
If
We
had a
talked
couple
about why,
hotels
maybe because they have construction crews there that were staying there, so that helps too. But
and different management, different ways of accounting it. Any further?
That's all I've got.
Alder Bussey?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the balance being around that 23 because we anticipate the library is going to require more support in the future. And if the transportation aid isn't, it's good to have money in the cookie jar.
It will certainly help our borrowing this year for Mr. Belangi.
I agree with what Alder Bussey said. I do think we need to try to put some numbers on, what we're expecting, like variation in computer aid, the decrease in the
that's the other
library.
I've heard about that, yeah.
Hmm.
I forgot about the computer aid changes
Right.
too.
The decrease in the library, the aid from the county for the library is significant to the library. I'm not sure in the context of the whole city budget. It's,
Yeah, he's projecting, a large decrease, so the offset.
but compared to the numbers for some of the other things, it's,
Right.
okay.
Further questions? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bussey?
Aye.
Alder Wood?
Motion carries. Item number 7 is acceptance of the general fund accounts payable checks dated October 17th through the 30th of 2014. We won't be doing that. Number 7, is there a motion? Oh, no. Mark?
Number 7, you talking about checks?
Yeah, we're on checks.
You can jump in there when you want to. You have questions? Just want to start on page 1. Just one thing about a lot of these checks, there's a lot of the bigger checks are from Oneida Park and the library stairwell projects. Just so you get those. But the first one is advanced disposal. Just kind of want to hit on that quick. Here's our monthly fees and our rebates, about $4,800 for our rebate. And we are basically on target to hit that number for the year, for the entire year for the rebates. All the other numbers are right on target with that. Down a couple, is APHE, Advanced Professional, that's the paramedics. They have to do refresher courses, now being paramedics. Page 3, Civic. Workers' compensation audit. Just basically, what this is, we get a bill at the very beginning of the year. They estimate what our workers' compensation will be, and then they audit our stuff during the year. So we had an additional cost of $2,760, and that was right on what we budgeted for. Page 5, Jones Concrete Products. As you know, we did some work, I don't know if you're aware, we did some work in front of the City Hall. The crew is actually doing the work, but the concrete is delivered. Landmark Services, the very bottom, that's just a monthly use.
So, excuse me, but going back to that concrete, because they're city staff and they're on the clock as paid employees, is that basically our total cost for that new entryway?
That is in addition to some minor supply purchases like some forms and stuff, but we can use those in the future.
So we used our own Bobcat, we used our own staff, and so we just,
Yeah, so basically, we estimated that job would be just over $5,000, so we saved about $3,500.
that's what my guess would have been too.
Yep.
Yeah, we
Good
tore it
job.
all up ourselves. And
It looks good. The gull lives in the concrete.
like I said, Landmark Services down there. So the average police department is about average. They use about 33,000, 3,200.
That's
Yes.
where we're gonna get our savings next year at $3 a gallon gas
There you
here. 'Cause they budgeted at
As you see,
75. How long it stays at 3, I don't know.
page 9, William Cole, just to see, just wanted to show you what the areas he's working on right now for us.
And he did not bring forth a increase at all this year, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Page 13,
Mark, page 11, what was the roof repair? And there's still some more work being done on that?
There is. They're actually working on both the community center roof and the city hall roof for some leaking that's occurring near the entrance at the community center, I believe, and then where the hose tower meets the building, there's been some leaking at city hall. So this is work that we've had in the hopper for quite some time. We're just finally getting to it.
Thank you. So there's nothing with the installation of the solar panels?
No, it's been there for a while.
page 13, Baycom, Police Department interview room equipment. This was budgeted in 2014 capital. Just so you go to page 14, oh, Dan's here, but this is Dan's Eckloff's cost for, just so you're aware, when you do buy police equipment, the changeover cost that we had to put in there, so just to get an idea.
If we keep buying the same car, that'll get cheaper and cheaper each time, correct? Because you get better and better at it?
And you change the model year or body style, you didn't ask the car dramatically.
Thank you.
Underneath that, Dell, we had a lot of equipment that was ordered, and that was all part of the 2014 capital. As you can see, server equipment, laptops. Page 15,
And that's 14, not per
That's
Alder
15,
Thomas's suggestion about, it's not
No,
buying
that's last
15
year's,
products.
this
Okay.
year's capital.
Per the
The list that.
the list of who gets what when. Okay.
Page 15, Falcon Energy System. This is the third quarter bill.
Have you heard back from them?
I did hear back from that. I just heard back from today. I got an email for them. The biggest thing, the difference I talked about is the payback. Our RECs cost more than what MGD is paying back, so there is a
But is it different than what was agreed upon going into it?
no.
No, so it's tracking,
It's
so it's doing better because it's pacing. The solar output is greater than we had planned,
yeah.
but the recs are the same as per the budget.
Yes. Yep. But you can see the large one, the 3,001, that is for the Public Works building. So that's where the majority that's from. The first one would be City Hall, and then the library, and Public Works, and well. Page 20.
On 16, Madison College has tuition for our EMT interns.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. As you
And how does that get offset? Just refresh my, I know this, but I've forgotten what our payback is from the interns. We pay their tuition.
They provide coverage.
you work for free.
But they get paid a lot less than what the full-timers.
They get their tuition and room and
Okay,
paid for.
okay, so this is compensatory to them.
Right. They don't really get a.
They don't get a wage, okay.
How many interns do we have currently?
They get a little bit of a stipend.
3. Yeah. They do get a stipend, but they don't get paid
It's minimal.
per their hour
Yep.
of work.
This is the reason why it's so high. It's their first year, so that next year they won't have that as much cost. It decreases every year. Page 20, Insulin Plumbing. This is just a repair, restaurant repair, restroom repair, but just to see the cost. It's expensive when we have stuff break down. We got to call plumbing in. Underneath that is already, we talked about Vanderwall. That's all I have.
And for maintenance, public works maintenance, that can't be done at the shop now? Will we be seeing bills from
We will.
repair services from Dean's and
We'll be seeing, we haven't sent anything out
yet? Oh, okay.
yet, but we will be seeing outside bills in the coming month or so.
Okay. Any further questions?
Move approval?
Motion to approve?
Second?
And a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? General fund checks have been approved. If you just remember, item number 8, to remove that from agendas going
We
forward.
did take it from the
Okay.
council, we just forgot on the other one.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
And all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank